Hello, hello. Test, test, test. It looks like my sound is working. Wow, I can't believe it's been so long since my last live. How much I miss you guys. So I hope you've missed me too. I hope you'll welcome me back into your YouTube life. Oh man. Um, Let me get started with all my normal stuff. Please hit your like button if you don't mind. And make sure that you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, here we go. Where's the sign? And then share a video of mine with somebody that you think will like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring. And let me do my disclaimer and apologize for the wax in my braces. Hopefully I've been learning how to speak so you can understand me with them, with the wax in my braces, because I pretty much always have it on now, except for when I'm eating, which is rare. I hardly ever eat. Like, I'm serious. I'm on a liquid diet. Just because it's such a pain in the rear end to take it out and then put it back in. And I have to have it. The razor blades in my mouth, I don't like it. That's what it feels like to have metal braces. Although the top braces aren't metal, they're plastic. Anyway, enough about all that. Enough about my problems. Let's talk about the true crime problems. I think that's one of the reasons I'd like to focus on true crime, is it makes me feel like my problems are pretty mild, Having owie braces is pretty mild compared to like having your mother missing, for instance, or having nodules on your vocal cords and having to get surgery when you do this for a living, which is exactly what Savannah Gutherie had been dealing with for the last couple of months. She'd only been back at work for a week when her mother went missing on Sunday morning. So my disclaimer is that everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, and learn something and be educational. All of my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And yeah, the tube of you and me, I like to say. So I haven't done a video in I think a week and a day, or maybe even a week and a couple of days. And I have a ton of notes to go over. So I thought what I would do is I would summarize the things that I want to talk about and then see how much we can get through in maybe 90 minutes. I can't do a live much longer than that, which is fine because I think it's hard for all of us to watch them when they're too long. But there is a ton of information that I want to cover. And that was before the Savannah Gutherie thing. I wasn't so sure about covering Savannah Gutherie. It's a bizarre situation. I just watched the sheriff that did a press conference about Savannah's mother. And man, I hope that her mother's okay. This is a crazy situation. But the sheriff was, in my estimation, odd. There's something about the entire presser and ever since she's gone missing that's reminded me a lot of when Kylie Rodney went missing. It's like, for instance, at the end of the presser, he said, well, we won't do another one until Thursday. Oh, unless we have some information that, something come in. And it's like, why would you not expect anything to come in for the next 48 hours? Like, that's just weird. The earlier in the situation, the better, especially in this situation when she's 84 and she takes medication every day that she has got to have, or she might not survive. So it's really crazy. So, 84-year-old women just don't get kidnapped out of their homes very often. And I thought it couldn't possibly be another Trumpster fire distraction. Could it? So I looked up Savannah Gutherie and Trump, and he hates her. He absolutely freaking hates her. And she has done a ton of interviews with Trumpstein survivors. And then I looked up the thing about her surgery and why she hadn't been at work since like mid-December. She went back to work, I think, the Monday before her mom went missing. So, of course, now she's not at work again. And, you know, she had nodules on her vocal cords, which, of course, you can get that from poisoning. I'm not saying that she was poisoned. I just think it's really bad luck that she's had this major medical catastrophe, that she's had to miss a lot of work, and now she's got this tragedy with her mom. Fingers crossed that her mom is okay, but situations like this don't tend to end well, especially given the situation with the medication. Why is it that so many bad things happen to people that the Trumpster fire no likey? It's really sus, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. So we know that the Trumpstein files have just been dumped, like another 3 million or more. And there's all kinds of horrible, crazy information. And the Trumpster fire has come out publicly to say, see, look, everything exonerates me. I'm good. Let's go bomb the world. And, you know, let's go raid Springfield, Ohio, because they have Haitians there. And, you know, Springfield, Ohio is really, really close to where I live. And today is February 3rd. It's a little bit after 2:30 in the afternoon. And today is the day that these thousands of Haitians' temporary visas run out. And so the area is expecting flocks of ice to swoop in as early as tomorrow. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So I want to catch up on all the ice crap. I want to talk about the Trumpstein files. I want to talk about the survivors. I want to talk about Alex Preddy, of course. You know that they've determined, you probably know this by now, they've determined who the two people who assassinated him are. And we also know that there's a video of him kicking the taillight out of an ICE vehicle about a week before they executed him in the street. We're going to talk a little bit about Melania's awful documentary. We're going to catch up a little bit on the Tepe case. I've got big ambitions for today. And what else? We're going to talk about Mike Johnson, and maybe his face is full of Botox, and that's why he can't move any of the muscles in his face. I don't know. And others like him. I even want to talk a little bit about the... Oh, is that Annabise? Hello, my dear. How are you, honey? Thank you so much for coming in. And I'm guessing you can hear me because it looks like my sound thing is working. I even want to talk about the Idaho 4 case. I can't remember if I texted you about that or not. I might not have. And my goodness, the whole thing with Idaho 4, for those of you that have followed my channel, you know that early on in the case, I was way into it, balls to the walls, right? And then there was just so much hinky crap around it that I finally was just like, screw this noise. This case is ridiculous. And I watched a full video yesterday of Brian Enton interviewing the G family, Steve G. Gonzo and his wife. And I pray for all of the families, including them, and I'm not going to criticize them at all. Well, maybe it might sound like I'm criticizing them, but I'm trying to help them. I'm just trying to reflect back what they spoke of, because they basically said that they don't believe anything about the case. It's a total sham, except that they believe that Koberger did it by himself. But they don't believe anything that comes out of law enforcement's mouth. They don't believe Kathy Mabbitt. They don't believe any of it. None of it, except they know for a fact that the accused, because he confessed, that he did it, because people don't confess to things that they haven't done, which is completely not true in real life. Anna Bees, I didn't ask how you're doing. I figure that you're probably not able to chat. So, because yeah, you'd let me know what you were up to. But if you can chat, then chat away. And if not, it's just lovely to see you. Thanks for being here. So yeah, the thing about Koberger and pro-burgers that want to protect him, I want to say that I don't think anybody, in my opinion, wants to protect him. I think that people want to protect justice, and people want to protect injustice from happening. And so if he's not the only person involved, or if he wasn't involved, my guess is that he was, but that he's not the only person. That's just my opinion. They got to get everybody, not just, I'm not kidding you, every major crime that goes down, when it's like, let's say a gang thing, let's just say a gang thing, for example, they don't all come out and confess. They get one person that will confess and take the fall for the entire group. And that person has no choice. If they don't do it, their mom might get kidnapped. Their 84-year-old mom might get kidnapped, or they might get poisoned and lose their voice. I'm just crossing my wires. Don't mind me. Their safety is threatened, but the way that mobster crap works, more than threatening a person's safety directly, is they threaten the safety of the people around them. So like your children, your parents, your siblings. And most people would do anything to protect their children and their families. So they don't have to unalive the person. They can unalive people around the person, and that's going to be even more effective. And more threatening. I want to talk about Jiz, because her company that she was running, Tesmosis, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. No, her company is not called Tesmosis. Tesmosis is a content creator that I wanted to recommend to you. Her company is called Terramar. That's funny that I was crossing those wires. Try not to do that. Her company called Terramar is allegedly a company to focus on the health of the oceans, because what a organic person Jiz is, and how much she cares about everyone and everything. Of course, I'm being very sarcastic. I always thought that it had more to do with the fact that there's no jurisdiction on the open seas. And so she wants to have a lot of influence with the laws of pirates, or the lack thereof laws of pirates. There's so much more to it, though. There's so much more to it. It has a lot to do with trade. It has a lot to do with regulations. I mean, think of water. Think of water, and like Kylie Rodney's case, right? All the issues with water historically, like going back to that early 70s movie with Jack Nicholson, Chinatown. and that cute cartoon, I think it was called Rango. Water is a huge, huge issue. So Jizz wants to be in control of all the water. That's a pretty lofty goal. But yeah, Tesmosis showed a video today. They dropped a video a few hours ago that is just raw footage from the Trumpstein files that were recently dropped. And it's just home movies taken at Pedo Island and other places. Like some are in Central Park, and it looks like you don't really know who's making the videos, but it seems like kids. It seems like probably some of the folks that were transported were making these videos, and they're interesting. So his video that he dropped is just over half an hour long. I think it's like 38 minutes. I highly recommend it, even though it's kind of hard to follow. But more than that, I want to read the comments to you, and maybe I'll just go ahead and do that now. Because the comments really got me thinking. And so those are all the things I want to talk about, and whatever it is that you guys would like to talk about. And again, thank you so much for being here, and I'd love to know how you're doing if you want to say. And if you've heard of this Tesmosis or not, man, it's just so sad for Savannah Gutherie. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. 84 years old. You know, I was watching Down the Rabbit Holes lives today. She's great. And one of the things she said that I was so glad she said, because I had already thought it, is that there's a lot about Nancy Gutherie's home that is very reminiscent of Gene Hackman's home. That was a weird situation too, right? So Tesmosis, let's see how long this channel has been around. I've been a member or a subscriber. It's been around for a long time, like 12 years. And this is what they say about their description: exploring the harsh reality behind fame, fortune, and public notoriety, analyzing the human condition, including mental unwellness, self-medication, erratic behaviors, and the complex traumality that are the root cause of it all, with those who live their lives on the public stage as case studies. It's very interesting. So was this last video? It's called Epstein and Guests Disturbing Home Video Footage. And I'm not going to play you the video. I'm just going to read to you the comments. And there's more now than there was when I last saw. So the first comment: Jizz has a submarine license. They are moving underwater. I did not know that she has a submarine license, and I am not sure of that. But submarines are very specifically used to be subversive, not for anything else, but to be subversive. And so someone commented, I won't read all the comments, but just some of the really good ones. Some aren't ready for the entire truth just yet, or the fact that Disney Cruise Lines was making stops as well. Someone else says, check out her Terramar project. And someone else says, yep, of course, it's connected to the UN. We know all about them. Someone said, this is just in the last hour, it's because their kind comes from under the water. I mean, what, the water lizard people? And yeah, Terramar, Terra actually means like extraterrestrial, possibly. And Mar means like marred, like messed up. And then someone says, a citizen of Terramar. I said, chilling. That was 3 hours ago. someone's quoting from the video, but I missed this part. If this is in this 38-minute video, quote, he has already illed one person. And then, quote, you need to learn to strip, keep your boyfriend satisfied, end quote. Disturbing. The choice of an island really was just to let the children see that they have no way to escape. I agree. And to have like no laws, just like you basically have no laws on the water. And let's see what else. So many souls perished on this island, which I completely agree with. That I shudder to think what Britney Spears and her sister likely went through in the industry since she was mentioned in the files relating to the scumbag. Yes, people have always said Schneider is the father of Jamie's daughter, and I believe that, but now I'm wondering if it's actually one of these sick demons. Her daughter had an accident and almost passed when I heard that something felt off to me. I think she was 12 to 13 at the time. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking, but I'm sure you understand. I think they're talking about Jamie. Yeah, they're talking about Britney Spears's niece, Jamie Spears's daughter. I remember this, I think she was 8 years old, maybe 10. And Britney had given her like a Barbie Jeep or something like that for a birthday present, and she crashed it. She almost passed away. I think that's what they're talking about. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Probably him or some other creep related to Nick or this little E guy. Her daughter looks too much like Dan, and apparently she and Casey weren't even together when she got preggers, according to some of her own family members. Ew, is that gross guy Dan that they made that Nickelodeon Me Too movie about? The documentary? Whoever whoever assaulted her and got her pregnant most likely paid Casey to say that he was the father and are probably still paying him to this day to keep his mouth shut. Amanda Bynes said she can't have kids because of what was done to her. We know she's talking about Schneider. Oh, I think that's Dan Schneider. I think that is the guy that they made the Nickelodeon documentary about. Do we have Billy Darling here? Mara is sea, Tara is land. That too. Yeah, I looked up both of them. Mar also means like marred, like scarred, messed up. And Tara also means like extraterrestrial, like outer space. But yeah, you are correct. There's several meanings for both of those. Mar means ocean in Spanish. And yes, you are correct. Terra Mar, land, ocean, LOL, goofy. Well, I mean, they had lofty desires to take over the world, basically, right? And why not the galaxy? Why not? If you got Elon on your team, that's easy. I always thought Dan did to Amanda what Brian Peck did to Drake. The tactics and circumstances in both situations are eerily similar. So yeah, what they're saying is if Britney Spears' sister Jamie's baby was somebody like Dan Schroeder's, that by unaliving her, they could destroy the evidence of the child grape if Jamie was underage when she got preggers, which I'm pretty sure she was. And how are you, Billy Darling? Let's see. Read a couple more of these comments. Was there something thrown into the sea the first part of this video? What was happening under the trees at the beach with those people? Tunnels under Central Park? Who filmed this? Who's the girl talking, and why are they touring water tunnels? Good question. My guess is because those water tunnels are where they entrap their victims. And hello, my dear. Defund all their projects that have to do with children, because they never spend their own money. It comes from all of us and all their so-called fraudulent organizations of charities they so-call run. What am I watching? Someone says. Yeah, the same thing I thought. So much censoring and blurs. I have no clue what's going on. And I'll put a link to this in the description. What we just saw was how they snatched people out of the park without a trace. When she pointed to the cameras outside while she was inside the underground world, it appeared it was looking at the back of the construction site. Wow. This is weird. I missed that part. Let me show you the screen for a second. If I can pause it. It's like these really weird. Here we go. Pause. Can you see how it kind of looks like a giant white upside down terracotta pot, like that you would put a plant in? There's a whole bunch of them on the island. I missed that part when I was watching it. Dang. This is so bizarre. I wonder what's under them. There's like a dozen of them. Anyway, I'm going to keep reading you the comments and let you look at the video yourself if you're interested. And okay, I think I read most of this. It appeared she was looking at the back of the construction site, the site where they were pointing out the various playground they were building. This is the perfect setup to lure and snatch unsuspecting children just out of sight of their parents, guardian, and friends. This ties in city officials, especially those dealing with infrastructure. And then someone says it's like a Pandora's box of depravity. This reminds me of Enter the Dragon, Techno. So many different things have been right in front of us. I can't believe there will still be people that can't see it. It is so hard to believe that this behavior never went away. I once stood at the foot of El Castillo Chichen Itza, being told its grim history, and it never went away. Unimaginable. Stay vigilant, Tez. Your work, amongst others, is so important. Maxwell and Little E both having photos of JonBenet Ramsey is disturbing as all gets out, especially when you consider Jiz looks a lot like the woman standing next to JonBenet in the picture. I wonder how many were involved and harmed in this circle over the decades. Well, and I'm not the only one who has noticed that Erica Kirk looks similar to JonBenet Ramsey and is a similar age to, she was born a similar year to JonBenet Ramsey. Erica Kirk was born in 88, if anybody wants to look up when JonBenet was born. Billy says did they put people in them for punishments, or are they air holes for the underground tunnels? Really good questions, Billy, darling. You are probably right on it. J.B. Ramsey's father was most likely part of the cult. I get ick vibes from him. You people are looking out what's in front of your eyes. Look at the bigger picture. E is not deceased, and it's still going on in another country. Statute of limitations ran out on purpose. Someone says he already offed one person, referring to the pilot. inside the place. It sounds like she's trying to teach him a dance for his amusement. Thanks, Tez. Liked and hyped. There needs to be a red rum investigation. I watched Dark Journalist last night about Maxwell and Atlantis. They were trying to get permission to take submarines into Cuba ocean floor. Wild stuff. Isn't that her Terra Mar project? Yep. Craziness. Oh, wait a second. I don't think I want to read all of the comments, but maybe a few more. Let's see. The girl holding the camera quietly sobbing. This was interesting. I looked this up. I wonder if E used the same spray as in Eyes Wide Shut to make children forget the disgusting acts from the day before. The girls look so happy in the pics, like they are not going through the terrible things. Just made me think. He and or Jizz probably rugged them to an extent that made them forget about it. The whole pharmaceutical industry is built on shamanic knowledge. These old families know things that were lost to time. Look up scopolamine. I don't know what that is. SCOPOLAMINE, otherwise known as devil's breath. Did you mean blink twice? Vile and disgusting. Did you hear the latest? Looks like Jeps was behind Q and 4chan, and we all know Jizzy was a Reddit supermod. I did not know Jizz was a Reddit supermod. Dude, it's the octopus. That's crazy. I can't even tell what's going on in any part of the video. For 4 years now, I have had a short video of E and another person, and they are torturing a young nude female, and she is tied down, trigger warning, on the grass, and they seem to be shocking her body in her private area, and it's obvious that she's in pain. And someone says that turned out to be a PORN video. Wasn't him. Wouldn't be surprised, though. Sorry for the dog scratching at the door. I can't even tell what's going on. Oh, wait, I just read that one. Why is this girl filming random locations, and where are these? In New York? The buildings, tunnel, and area with all the tall fencing old buildings. Really not sure. Was footage from one of Jeffrey's old home video cameras. Gonna share some things as I dig through these files, all up for discussion. That's a answer from Tesmosis. And someone says movies can't even be this creepy. Thank you for posting. Quite disturbing, unsettling. Will be shocked if this video stays up, or maybe I'm just in a state of shock in general. Can't tell. It's crazy to listen to these people chat and laugh and move about in a normal way, and then realize who they are and the horrendous, evil things they did and are capable of. Like, part of my brain imagines people that are so evil and are raping babies and drinking red stuff to be crazed monsters that look demonic. I realize they are like normal looking humans or whatever, but it's just weird to see them like this, knowing what they've done. It is weird to see them looking normal. The maniacal laughing is so disturbing. Someone says, don't forget Pizzagate and the Sound of Freedom. You actually should do a deep dive into that movie. The billionaire who produced the movie was CIA. Once CIA, always CIA. It's like a gang. The only way out is, the end. He also kept talking about how no one wanted to show his movie and they kept blocking it from coming out because of the content, and that was a lie. He made a lot of money off that movie. Watch interviews of him. Something is very off about him, and I don't think he made that movie for the reason he claims. So you want to know who is the C and the A and the I in the opposite order? Is William Barr's father, Donald Barr, the guy who hired little E at the high school back there in New York City. What's the name of that high school? You know, the prep school. It'll come to me. Donald Barr was the headmaster there after he was in the CAI. How come the school name isn't coming to me? Do you guys remember? Dalton's school. And then William Barr was one of the people, Annabise, you texted me that video. He's one of the top people that I've always suspected of Epstein. William Barr and the other guy that I always confuse him with, Steve Bannon. And maybe that's why I confuse them, is maybe in my psychic mind, I know that they're married in evil. They both had access to him. They both were in the files. They both are basically Trumpstein billionaires. Anyway, Donald Barr goes from the CAI, I'm saying the letters out of order on purpose, to then being a headmaster at a high school. And then what did he do from there? Well, he'd already written the weird science fiction book about outer space with the sex underage slaves. I can't remember what he did after Dalton, after hiring little E and unleashing him onto the community. I don't think that was by accident. I think that was all by design. But let me set this down. I'll look over more of those comments later. I don't want to read you every single comment because there's too many. I think there's probably over 100 by now. But they are good, aren't they? Let's catch up with you. The hydrate. Wait, okay, missed this one. August 6, 1990, born. Oh, John Benet Ramsey. Thank you. And then Erica is like November 20th of 88. So they could easily be one and the same person, allegedly, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, right? I mean, Erica won that pageant, teen, Miss Arizona teen in 2007. And why do they try to hide that? It couldn't have been her first pageant. She probably grew up in the pageants. And who else grew up in the pageants, right? The hydrate. We use scopolamine patches for nausea. Interesting. What Barr? Yeah, William Barr's dad, Donald Barr. Can you believe that? Who goes from being in the CAI to being a headmaster at a high school? Like, what? WTF? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Unless you're the CAI and you want access to teens for your global transporting, right? Then it makes perfect sense. And then you hire people like little E to basically be like your honeypot for the teens. You know, the hot young teacher. I think he was like 23 when he started. And then he went from there to Wall Street to Les Wex, and then he's destroyed our economy. You know, he had everything to do with the economic crash of 87, the economic collapse of 2007. And yeah, there's some really good footage in the new e-files that dropped of, I'll put a link in the description to a Lev Remembers video where Lev and Zev Shalev just show 30 minutes of the interview between Little E and Steve Bannon. And it's about the economic collapses. I think it's mostly about the 07 one. But no. It's about the 87 one. Anyway, he was integral, absolutely integral. Like, because people like him, people like Trumpstein, they not only profit wildly when everybody loses money when there's a problem in the stock exchange, you know, a crash, a depression. There's people that clean up, but also it weakens the infrastructure of capitalism, which is exactly what Daddy Vladdy and others like him want, right? He got that job, right? So yeah, he got E that job. They tried to deny that William Barr's dad, Donald, hired Little E because Barr resigned at the end of the school year in 1974, I think it was. And Little E started in the fall of 1974. But there's every reason to believe that he had him appointed. Because even if he wasn't there, like let's say that Little E got hired over the summer. Even if he was hired over the summer and Barr wasn't technically the headmaster, obviously he's connected. So, you know, plus it's just a sneaky way to try to fudge the dates. Who knows if those stupid dates are even accurate? I mean, they're always fudging everything, right? And yeah, Bannon is in the files big time, and Barr is in the files big time. By the way, YouTube and social media is shadow banning those saying E's last name, so most calling it Einstein instead now. What a pain. And that's why I like to say Trumpstein files, because I don't think they're onto that one. And they're kind of one and the same person anyway, right? The Hydri, many heads of evil metaphor. Yes, William Barr, for the only one who had access to Little E in jail. Was he the only one? I thought Steve Bannon was interviewing him in the jail too, because he was allegedly trying to help Little E rehab his reputation. But there's also rumors that Little E was trying to help Bannon rehab his reputation. It's always good to turn the tables, right? Muddy the water. Yes. Billy Darling says to that last comment from Anna Bees about the access to Little E. Well, and I mean, Steve Bannon was high up in the Trumpstein cabinet, and then William Barr was the AG. So as the Attorney General, he was basically the headmaster of all the prisons in the country, right? Trafficking, transporting access. Little E was never handsome. Well, he's a disgusting piece of crap, but he did have like appeal. I'd have to, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, I think a lot of men were very attracted to him. I think Trumpstein was attracted to him. I think Les Wex was his sugar daddy. I think he was a gender bender, and you know, he was a lot. One of the victims said it really well. He was a lot more attractive than the rest of the people that they had to have relations with. It's all relative, right? I mean, put him next to Alan Dershowitz. And someone named Black. I know Leon gets overlooked as much as Les Wex gets overlooked, and they both need to get nailed. I think Leon Black is 80. Les Wex is 88. Ugh, they need to get some justice before it's too late. Agent E, Les Wex was in love. Yeah, Les Wex made him like his power of attorney and gave him access to every penny that he owned. And Les Wex has a crazy family history. Like his dad, or I think his grandpa, was like a cook for Stalin or Adolf, or there's all kinds of crazy there. Les Wex donates more money to the country that begins with the letter I than I think any other American every year. Why does it all come back to the country that begins with the letter I? And it all comes back to Bibi. And then we have to remember that Erica Kirk was friends with Bibi's kid. And then, yeah, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. E had dirt on them too. They need to pay. Yes, Leon Black. Yeah, scumbags, absolute scumbags. So should we talk about the Idaho case for a minute? So the interview with Brian Entin, and I really like Brian Entin, especially from the Gabby Petito case. What I don't like about him is that he works for News Nation, which I just think waters down the integrity of his work. I think Brian Entin has a lot of integrity, though. I wish that he was on his own and not with News Nation. I think he would do much better. But he's probably scared to be on his own, because then he'd be like Don Lemon. He'd be more vulnerable. That's the other thing with Savannah Gutherie and her mother being in a crisis right now, and Savannah Gutherie just coming out of her medical crisis, is that she just happens to be in the same job title that Don Lemon's been in his whole life. So we know that Trumpstein has been making an attack on journalists, but he absolutely hates Savannah Gutherie. He absolutely hates her. Like, he would call her all kinds of crap, crazy, and not nasty, but all the rest of it, for the last 6 years. So anyway, so with Kohberger confessing to the crime of the Idaho 4, how on earth could he have done, now that they've released the autopsy with the number of wounds that each of these people had, how could one person have done that in 20 minutes? Less than 20 minutes. I think it's 16 to be exact, and cleaned up. Is completely not plausible, in the very least. We know that there was the 8-hour delay in the phone call from the house. We also know that there was the 4-hour delay in the lead detective arriving. The other thing that the G family really hangs their hat on, and Brian Entin does too, and I just don't buy it, is that because he confessed and because his DNA was at the crime scene, and even though none of the DNA from the crime scene was in Brian's car or anything like that, that's because he has a master's degree in criminology. And so, yeah, right. But his DNA being at the crime scene could only be because he was at the crime scene. It couldn't have possibly been planted there, especially because it was mixed with Kaylee and Maddie's DNA, I think, in that little back of the snap where they found it. Um, it still doesn't make sense why there's no fingerprints on the sheath if he dropped it accidentally, right? That makes zero sense. Um, but yeah, if they could plant his DNA, they could certainly plant his DNA mixed with the victim's DNA. Um, so one of the criticisms that Gonzo and his wife had of YouTubers and people, that they call pro burgers, is that they want to cherry pick from the facts of the case and believe what they want to believe and criticize and disbelieve what they don't want to disbelieve. And I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm just trying to reflect that that's exactly what they've done by saying that because his DNA was there and because he confessed, absolutely he did it, when it's not possible that one person could have done all of that in 16 minutes and cleaned up. I think one of the things that's more possible is that there were multiple people involved and that they might not have even been attacked in the home. That, for instance, maybe Xana and Ethan were attacked, I don't know, at Sigma Chi, and maybe Maddie and Kaylee were attacked before they got home. Maybe they didn't get home. Just maybe. But yeah, there's so many other things too. Those are just the main things. The what was I going to say about it's just so sad. It's so sad that the families have had to put up with being lied to by law enforcement, just getting so many versions of the truth. Like, oh no, well, what we said before isn't true, but now what we're telling you now is true. It's so obvious. Even they said this, that the victims weren't being protected by anybody. It was the university being protected at all times. And yeah, that's exactly what it was. They all had dirt on each other. France has rated E's offices, ha ha ha, for CP. Yes, Billy, darling, thank you for bringing that up. And then Manafort, he's in huge trouble, and the Grok. Breaking news, LOL. I'm so happy about that, Billy. And Francophile for life. There's no way one person could have done all that in Idaho. I mean, maybe if they had like 24 hours, maybe. The other interesting thing was that Kaylee had the least amount of alcohol in her system. I think like 0.1 blood alcohol content, or just slightly over that. And then I want to say that Xana and Maddie had like over 0.2, which is a lot. And then Ethan, I think, had somewhere between the two, but he also had amphetamine in his system, which I'm going to guess was Molly, because that was the thing that the college kids like to do. I think ecstasy was the thing that they dealt from that 1122 address. I agree, Anna. So who helped? So the other thing that's really significant, this was what I was going to say, is that Kaylee, if you haven't heard this already, brace yourself. This is like TMI and it's major trigger warning. Kaylee completely destroyed. That's personal. That's somebody who's really pissed off at her for being so beautiful. So again, trigger warning. She was missing teeth. Her nose was broken. I want to say she was hit with the sharp edge object in the head, the face, and the shoulders like 23 times. And that makes me pointing to her off and on again boyfriend that she was ditching, or maybe the other girl that was in the sorority for the super ultra pretty, the one who invited her to be her plus one to make sure that she was there that night. The one who delayed, although it's funny, everybody blames Dylan for delaying, taking 8 hours to make the phone call, but why doesn't Bethany get the same amount of blame for taking 8 hours to make that phone call? Isn't that funny? I do that too. I put it more on Dylan. That doesn't make any sense. I guess because Dylan kind of put herself in the range of like hearing things and coming face to face and all that crap. The other thing with the Idaho 4 is like, why would they have destroyed the crime scene unless they were trying to hide the crime scene, right? I mean, that's just plain as day. So who helped? My opinion is all of the people that were so upset with them for various reasons, and the corrupt law enforcement, and the people that ran the university, like El Presidente, the one who kept their vehicles at his house after they finally removed them from the crime scene, 2 weeks later, and then they take them to Coomer Scott Green's driveway. That's not how those things go. Let's see. I think I might have missed one of the comments. I don't know. They tore down the house evidence like WTF before the case was completed. Completely intentional. I'm still suspicious about Jack D. Completely me too, Annabese. I'm right there with you. Jack D and the 10 phone calls and texts that he never returned. And, he was getting ditched. She was taking the dog. Just like going over to the Tepe case here in Columbus, Ohio, where Monique had ditched her first husband and took the dog, 10 years ago when she first married him and left him 6 months into the marriage. So who helped Brian, and are they one of the deceased? Oh, wow. What a good question, Billy. That's a question. That's wild. Because, yeah, we all know that, thugs are thick as thieves and they all turn on each other. If not, then how are they not implicated by Brian to save himself? Well, if he's been threatened that he'll be unalived or his family members will be unalived, and that as long as he takes the fall, everybody will be taken care of, then that would be how. Like, I mean, when you're mixed up with that crowd, there's no way out. There's no protection anywhere. He took her teeth. I did not hear that, Billy. Whoa. That's disgusting. I did not hear that. Can you share where you heard that? I mean, granted, I've ignored a lot of the case for like a year. I've just completely tuned out because it's such utter BS, in my opinion. I don't know, but I just feel it. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I always thought that, this is my opinion, I always thought that, and again, trigger warning, that Kaylee got her heart ripped out and that was symbolic. And there's been times, I mean, we all heard the rumors early on. I think it was on Reddit that there were lots of things done with the entrails inside the house, which really kind of pointed to hunters. And who is a hunter? The guy who was the lead in the investigation was a major hunter. He has that whole meats and locker company over there in Bonners Ferry and in Castle Rock, Washington. Castle Rock, Washington, really close to where that Caden Young OD'd over spring break. So Caden Young had been the editor for the Argonaut for the University of Idaho school newspaper. And then you had that guy the previous year, what was his name? Something London. The guy that was found in the creek, like in February of 2022, who was in the same fraternity, Sigma Chi. Let me see. Hudson, was that his name? Hudson Lundow. Let me see if that's right. Hudson Lundow, Idaho, University of Idaho, Sigma Chi, deceased. Lindow, Hudson Lindow. Paradise Creek, 19-year-old. And that was April 30th of 2022. And so Hudson was good friends with Ethan Chapin. They had done the like fraternity, what do you call that? For sororities, it's the sorority rush. For fraternities, it's just, there's a name for it. Let me see if my phone will tell me. What's the equivalent of sorority rush for fraternities? Recruitment? Huh. A bro style. I didn't know it was called recruitment. I thought it was called hazing. That's what I thought it was called. Because that's what it is, right? What about Murphy? No red stuff on him, and who let him out of the house and then put him back in? Right, and then remember the front door being open from like 8:30 to 9 or something like that. So Murphy wasn't afraid of the perps, which would make it very likely Jack D. Both Dylan and Bethany have guilty knowledge at the very least. Oh, they're so involved, like up to their freaking eyeballs. They were both protected right there with the university. Well, and Dylan's dad, Dylan's mom worked for the university. She worked at the Boise campus. And then Bethany's dad was not only a dentist in Reno, Nevada, she went to Truckee High School for a year. And she was the same age, I think, as Scammy and them, right? What are the chances? What are the chances? They did a Truckee on those kids. That's so funny that you said that like 7 minutes ago, and that I was just bringing up the Truckee connection with Bethany. Hunter stuff. Yeah, the Hunter stuff. Hunter, the first one to supposedly see Xana on the floor in the morning. And Hunter is also the name of Ethan's triplet brother. I don't know why. Oh, thank you. Because, I know the IDK and the IDKY threw me. Thank you, Billy Darling. The party was a cover. Yeah, isn't it always a party? I mean, they always, the perps always want to get the victim into a situation where there's many more possibilities of perpetrators. So they want to say like they were out in public, they dropped them off at the beach, They left them at the bar. They always want to put them in a public place when they're the last one to see them, right? Pledge, yes, Anna Bees, that's exactly the word I was looking for. Oh, yes, hazing. No, I was looking for pledging. Correct. That's so crazy. So let me see what else I got about, Bill Thompson. You guys probably know this, the prosecuting attorney in the Idaho 4 case that looked like Santa Claus. He retired before the case was finished, and the G's thought that he was a total weasel and that he just ran for the hills. And it sounds like they're pretty accurate about that. But he told the G family that the autopsy results were protected by HIPAA, that they weren't allowed to see the autopsy results or something like that. It was just weird. It's in that interview with Brian Enton. And then saying that the Idaho 4 was not motivated by SEX, which obviously it was. Look at how hot those 4 were. They also said that there was no stalking involved. I truly believe, at the very least, that Maddie and Kaylee were being gang stalked that night at the bar, even by Chief Small Fry. And on the way walking from the bar to the grub truck, and when they left the grub truck, and then Jack S., I think it was, that had walked with them from the bar to the grub truck, and then he didn't notice when they left, and then when he figured out that they left, he just like bolted. Like, that was a red flag. That was totally a red flag. But yeah, the rage, that's what I want to mention, is the rage of the entire 4 separate isolated attacks, not to mention 4 compiled, and the attacking of Kaylee's face. Kohberger wouldn't have that type of motivation. He wouldn't have that type of rage at these people that he didn't really know, in my opinion. But yeah, the top priority was protecting the university. That was always completely obvious. One of the things that the law enforcement had said to the G family over the course of time since the crimes happened up until now is they've tried to discourage the E family from emailing them. And one of my thoughts is that they didn't want the emails because they didn't want to have the record, because then when people make the FOIAs, the Freedom of Information Act requests, then they have to provide all those email exchanges. And if they just have phone calls, they don't have to document it. And I've heard of police departments telling their employees not to document things if possible, when possible, so that they don't have to provide the documentation of the events with the public when FOIAs are made. And so Steve Gonzo even admits that they're never going to get the truth, but yet they're still dead set on Kohberger being their fall guy, being their boogeyman. And yeah, it feels a lot better to say there's just one maniac out there than to say that the university that they went to, and probably their parents went to, a lot of their family went to, and their kids went to, and that law enforcement, that the whole system is the boogeyman. It's much easier to put it on one bad guy. But I thought it was really interesting. One of the things that Gonzo said is that you lose leadership of the law enforcement in the plea dealings. And, I've seen a lot of plea deals happen and they do suck. They absolutely suck because you don't get the truth. You get the criminal's version of the truth, which, how can you believe them? They're the criminal that did it, and they're never going to admit the full truth. But the law enforcement will take the confession so they don't have to go through the trial. Like, nobody wants to go through a trial. It's a lot of work and effort, and they don't get paid any extra to do that. It's very stressful, very, very stressful. But I thought that was an interesting perspective, that the leadership gets lost. And yeah, that's all I got to say about the Idaho 4 case. Let's see what you guys are saying. How's my lighting? It's kind of weird. So I put the headphones on because it's easier than having the microphone when I'm sitting in the chair. And then they light up. In the screen, it looks all white, but not in the screen, it's like all these different colors. It's really cool. But anyway, I just want to check with you guys how the lighting is, because it's kind of bugging my eyes out, but that's also because I have the glasses and the glare. So let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, sorry, I missed some. That's so crazy. You could just blast music and turn on lights and say you had a party and move about your bad business. Yeah, it all gets lost in the shuffle. Exactly. I've always thought that Xana and Ethan were brought to the house after they were deleted. And remember the freaking brain on the freaking dumpster. And then the guy not calling it in for a couple of days. And then Brett Payne taking that call and saying it's probably just an animal. And again, not doing like a face-to-face, or I mean, the phone call was documented, but that was all. That is nuts. This would take hours. That is not true. They are Kaylee's authorized contact. Yeah, totally not true about the HIPAA, the autopsy results being protected by HIPAA. Like, what? I thought HIPAA was like gone once somebody's deceased anyway. There is no such thing as HIPAA when somebody's deceased. I thought. I could be incorrect about that. Anna Bees, you might know. Billy, you probably know too. I'm assuming because they were paying for her education, so there would be papers saying that they were the responsible party. Exactly, Jazz. They didn't want a paper trail. Yeah. You get someone in jail, whether it's true or not. Well, and like with the Watts case, that's a classic example. Chris Watts told 3 different versions of what happened in his confession. None of the 3 are true, in my opinion. I mean, he never implicates the crazy biatch that NK, and that was obviously his main goal, was to protect her. But his first version of events was that Shanann hurt the kids, and then he heroically hurt Shan because he was so mad about her hurting the kids, like putting himself in the hero role, when he was the evil scumbag who did all of it, or who allowed his hosebag girlfriend to do all of it. And she was probably right there doing at least as much as him, if not more. I don't think he could have done that to his kids. And I think that she helped him with Shanann, but I think the girls were already done before Shanann got home. Anyway, You get someone in jail. Yeah, I think your mic is cutting in and out, but I like your headphones. Oh, is it cutting in and out? I'm so sorry. Let's see if I have it plugged all the way in. I don't know. That sucks. I mean, I probably just need a more expensive computer. This is a very inexpensive laptop. And, when I had my gaming laptop, that thing was the freaking bomb. But it had problems. I took it back to Best Buy for them to fix it. It took them a freaking million years. And so finally I just demanded my money back and then got a much cheaper one. That was so sad. And I didn't have my laptop for so long, and I was doing all my videos on my cell phone. That was hilarious. I didn't really have a good stand for my cell phone, so it would like fall and I would just keep rolling the lives. Yeah, dumpster. OMG, I didn't know. Billy, darling, you don't remember the animal brain on the dumpster outside of Sigma Chi? So a dad was dropping his kid off at the party at like, I think 11, and saw the brain on the dumpster and didn't call it in on Sunday. I don't think he called it in on Monday. I think he called it in on Tuesday because he heard about the quadruple homicides, and then he thought, well, maybe it was something relevant. I mean, it's a freaking hazmat situation at the very least. But I've always thought that brain on the freaking dumpster was like a flag to say, like, it's been done, right? And then yes, do we believe it was an animal brain? And see, the thing is that if it wasn't an animal brain, there's only one other option. And yeah, it was probably not an animal brain. Nah, not force 50 years after. Oh, okay. The HIPAA doesn't become null and void until 50 years after deceased. So, yeah, it's so crazy. I'm thinking about Kaylee's face being so bashed in and how it could have been what was on the dumpster could have been from her. So why do we get autopsy reports on other cases? Right. Well, there's like the coroner report and then the autopsy report, and honestly, it gets me confused. I mean, I've gone to get those records, to do FOIAs in person, and the autopsy is part of the coroner's report. So you get the autopsy in the coroner's report, I think is how it goes. Some random animal brain just hanging out on the rim of the dumpster. Right. Like, why wouldn't you put it in the dumpster? WTF with that city is what I'm saying. OMG. Saw the brains on the dumpster is wild. Yeah, right, Billy. Humans are animals. Yes. So let's move away from Idaho if you don't mind, because we don't have that much longer. It's 3:50. And I want to mention a really awesome comedian, because you guys probably love the comedy as much as I do. Have you heard of this guy named Sammy Obeid? I'll spell his last name. It's Obeid. He is a sharp MF, and I love him. And I will put a link in the description to one of his videos where he cracked me up. He always cracks me up, but this one, he says he talks about the similarities between Erica Kirk and P. Diddy, and he calls her E. Kirky, like P. Diddy, and I just thought that was the best. But what is this? The gaslighting is just so extreme. It's so extreme. We're also gaslit by El Presidente. The guy is like steroid gaslighting on steroids. So, talking about the situation with ICE and what happened to Renee Good, and then what happened to Alex Preddy, I don't think either of those were accidents. And it's so freaking obvious, but it's like my brain can't like sew it all together because of all the gaslighting and because you just don't want to. The ICE agents have told people to their faces, we're videotaping your face, we're documenting you, we have facial recognition, and we're going to put you in our system and identify you as terrorists, because domestic terrorists, because you're protesting, right? So Alex and Renee had both been protesting, so they both were probably already in the system. My point is that they were probably both being stalked by ICE, and that, you know, with Renee, when all of the ICE agents swooped in on her, they were all corralling her. If you get like a wide angle image of the crime scene, I count as many as seven, seven, give or take, ICE agents closing in on her from all different sides. That's crazy. Corralling her. But normally you get a smaller, like a less wide angle lens that just shows like 3 or 4, which is still a lot. They're like coyotes, the way they travel in packs. So, you know, if Alex had kicked out their taillight the week before or a couple of weeks before, you know, they could have arrested him for damaging their property. But allegedly they beat him up that day and they broke a rib. So they knew who he was. Also, like, I'm not so sure that that video of him kicking the taillight is not artificial intelligence. I don't know. He happens to be wearing the exact same outfit. You've probably noticed if you've seen the video too. Same outfit that he was wearing on the day that they executed him in the street. But if they already had their eye on him, you can see in that video that may or may not be AI, you can see his firearm in its holster on his back right hip. So they already knew that he had that. And when they're about to execute him, the one guy who comes out of nowhere and runs in and grabs the firearm and then runs away with it. And then the guy that the first one to execute him, he's got eyes right on the firearm as it's getting removed from the holster. He knows that the firearm is removed from the holster, and they don't fire at him until they know he is disarmed. And to me, it just doesn't seem like an accident. It seems like that it was choreographed. Let's see. The coroner isn't a doctor. Yeah, just some guy saying stuff. The coroner, some doctor has to sign off, though. Yes, it's true, Billy. And do science stuff like analysis of fluids. Border Patrol agents are very commonly Mexican Americans. Oh, thank you, Annabise. So, yeah, both of the ICE agents who fired at Alex Preddy that day, they've both been identified by gang stalkers online, right? Groupthink. And they're both Latin American. My thought, this is nuts. This is totally nuts. My thought with Savannah Gutherie's mother, Nancy Gutherie, is her last name is Gutherie. So Savannah Gutherie kept her maiden name. I think. My thought is that they're going to have the ICE agents rescue her and be the hero. But man, I just hope she's okay. I just hope she's okay. I just think it would be really weird if ICE comes out smelling like a rose at the end of the Savannah Gutherie's mother's disappearance. The only reason I think that is because early on the sheriff mentioned something about ICE. Like, why are you talking about ICE? But anyway, hopefully that's just like paranoid, delusional thinking. And if that does happen, OMG, OMG, then we can just say I'm psychic, right? But I'm not. I know, right? What's up with that? I know. It is so sad. People that are immigrants themselves then, villainizing other people that want to be immigrants also. It is insane. Billy, especially Mexican Americans from Texas, it's like they're brainwashed to be the house slave. Yeah. And they're trying to win brownie points. That's another thing I want to mention about Renee Good and Alex Preddy is that I would imagine that the ICE agents who commit acts like that are going to get bonuses from Trumpstein files, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Like a bounty hunter, basically. It's awful and terrifying. It was intentional. Yeah. I mean, they had like 8 people on Alex Preddy. And then when they all ran away, when they all scattered like bullies on a schoolyard, that was so crazy. That was like the most revealing part of it, in my opinion. They take kids, why not old people? Right, Billy darling. The vulnerable. Definitely the vulnerable. So you've probably heard that Jonathan Ross, the one who red rummed Renee Good, that he's married to an immigrant. I think she's Filipino. And you've probably also heard that his ex-wife had left him for another woman, which, in my opinion, it also seems like Alex Preddy is not heterosexual. And in my opinion, that would be another reason that they were selected to be executed and made examples of, because MAGAs hate people that aren't heterosexual even more than they hate people that are heterosexual, that aren't like them, right? Yeah. I want to talk about the Tepe case too for a minute, if you guys are all right with that. But I want to say this. I haven't heard other people say this, and I think it's my opinion that when Trumpstein talks total smack of these cases, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, when he talks total smack about them immediately after they happen, and he just spins it and makes all these determinations like way too early, when there's not been an investigation and there's not been any time for an investigation, that when he spins it like that, he knows that he's going to create outrage that is going to muddy the water and distract people from their outrage of the executions to begin with. It's just more of the gaslighting. It's insane, isn't it? Sherry, woohoo, how's it going? Most of MAGA are closet gays. I agree, absolutely. What, like Mike Johnson? He's not gay. Lindsey Graham, he's not gay either. Pete Hegseth, not gay. Vance, not gay. Patel, definitely not gay. Lady Lindsay. Who's Lady Lindsay? They aren't immigrants, but they're Americans, but they should have more empathy for people from Mexico. Right. Their parents were immigrants. I mean, we're all from immigrants, right? I mean, that's what our whole country is based on. And it's such a delicate issue. It's just the whole thing with the concentration camps is, the whole like NAZI thing is what's wrong. Didn't Grinder crash all the time when GOP meet? Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think TPUSA crashes Grinder. There's other events that crash Grinder that are basically Republican events. Yes, many in the current administration are not straight. Trump is not straight. I agree, Billy. He is so hot for MBS, Osama bin whatever his name is. He's so hot for MBS. He was just like drooling all over him. I think he's hot for Putin. I think he was hot for Little E. And I also think he's super hot for Mandami, right? Yes, they building camps. Yeah. The gas chamber thing is crazy. It's fine to be gay, but don't be a fascist. Don't be fascisty. Exactly. Just accept yourself. I mean, I'm sure it's challenging when there's so much homophobia in our culture, but it's that internalized homophobia that's the worst, right? Absolutely the worst. So let's see. The thing with the Tepes. The thing with the Tepes. So on December 6th, you guys have probably heard about Mike McKee going to their home, driving to their home in Columbus, Ohio from Chicago, and being on the curtilage for 3 hours. So this was an affidavit that was released a few days ago. And sorry, I'm so late to talk about it since I haven't made a video in over a week. It's pretty fascinating. So he was there on the curtilage. And if you don't know what curtilage is, I had never heard the word, even though it's a word my husband's very familiar with. Curtilage is basically the outside parts of your home that have the same kind of privacy, that should have the same kind of privacy as the inside of your home. So that would be like your back porch, the inside of your backyard, especially if it's fenced, right? So they have in this affidavit that Mike McKee was in the Tepes curtilage for 3 hours on December 6th. The same day and the same time that they were away at the football game, OSU versus, I think they were playing like the Oregon Ducks in Indiana. And the Tepes went with another couple that they were close friends with. And halfway through the game, Monique went back to the hotel room. And the friends have reported that they asked Spencer where Monique was, and he told them that she had left because she was upset about something to do with her ex-husband. So that was at the same time that the ex-husband was at their house. So it's not real clear if she saw him like on a surveillance camera, maybe on her cell phone. My guess would be that, or if he might have texted her and said, I'm at your house, or sent her a picture of him, like a selfie in front of her house. My guess is that it's one of those things or both, but it could be other reasons why she, at the same time that he was at their property, was upset about something to do with him. It just seems very unlikely that it wasn't one of those two things or both. So saying that he was in the curtilage for 3 hours doesn't strike me as the absolute truth. It strikes me that probably they can prove that he was in the curtilage and that it was 3 hours from the time that he got there until the time that he left. And that maybe from the outside of the house, he was able to dismantle their surveillance, their Wi-Fi, and he was able to get in the house, and he was able to map out exactly how he would do what he then came back to do in 3 weeks. Because 3 hours would be a long time to be outside. And especially, it's cold. I don't remember the exact temperature on December 6th, but it was probably 20 or 30 degrees maybe. So to be outside for 3 hours, it just doesn't make much sense. It makes more sense that they can't prove that he was in the house, because if he had dismantled the Wi-Fi or the surveillance system, but he could have been doing all of his recon to come back and do the deed. And I still think that wedding video gave him all the recon that he needed to find their house, especially since they're standing in front of their address, the 1411, at the beginning of that wedding video. Is just so sad. I mean, that wedding video shows the inside and the outside and the front and the back and the sides of the house and the neighborhood and the intersection that they live right by, all of it so freaking clearly. And it's just a few blocks from OSU, where Mike went to school for many years. It's where he got his undergrad, his pre-med, and his medical degree. It's where Spencer got his pre-med and his medical degree. It's where Monique got her undergrad, and she had a master's degree in early childhood education. So that's all of their stomping ground. So if Mike didn't already know their address when he saw that wedding video, that would have been it. But it could have been that it's been said that he's still friends with some people that are still friends with Monique. So he could have he could have gotten information with the friends that were traveling with the Tepes to go to that football game in Indiana. He could have gotten the information that they weren't going to be home. And so he saw that as a perfect opportunity. I don't think Monique or Spencer posted anything on social media, or very, very little on social media, because of Mike and his propensity to stalk Monique. So there's been a lot of talk about, well, if she knew that he was there, why didn't she call the police? And I have some thoughts about that. My thoughts are that she may have called the police, and it might have just been an information only. Or maybe she called the police and they just haven't released that information yet. But also, if she'd been getting stalked by this guy for 8 years, I mean, I was stalked by my father for decades, and you do get used to it. You just tune it out. You almost have to ignore it, because otherwise you're like a cat on a hot tin roof and you can't function. So I don't know. I don't know, but let me see what you guys are saying. And yeah, we'll have to start heading to the wrapping up part. Thank you so much for being here with me, you guys. Um, oh, for sure, Billy. That's why he's so good at phantomizing, giving fellatio. Exactly, Annabese. Yeah, when Trump was blowing that microphone during his campaigning, that was so effing unreal. And that was a direct slam to Kamala, because he was always trying to say that that's how she got promoted in her career, like with Gavin Newsom, and then with that, I think some guy named Willie, who was like the mayor of San Francisco or something like that. So yeah, that was a direct sexist slam to Kamala, but it was also very revealing, like how familiar it was to him to go down on the mic. I know, right? So gross. He was like, let me show you how good I am at this. Yeah, he was trying to advertise, right? Close to the house. Yeah, the curtilage close to the house, right? LOL, Billy. You know he has done that a lot. Oh, with Mike and Monique's, he might not have known where to find them. I mean, he may have, and he probably spent much of his time trying to figure out things about Monique and how to find her. He was so confident. Oh, you're talking about Trumpster fire on the mic. Billy, it looks like he's very familiar with doing it. Yes. Tepe address is easily found, though. Oh, is it? But see, he might not have known who she married, but then my guess is that he would have known who she married from their friends in common, that he would just ask around even if he couldn't find things out online. And yeah, they would be online, like for Spencer's work for being a dentist. But Mo had social media when she was together with Mike, but then she kind of quit posting after she left him. I mean, she posted him the day she left him. She posted a picture of her dog in the passenger seat, their dog, I think it was both of theirs, in the passenger seat, and said something like, 6 hours and we'll be back to Columbus. That was pretty ballsy. But maybe she wasn't posting that for him. Maybe she was posting that for her friends and then realized, oh, I shouldn't be posting stuff. But I don't know. I mean, you would think she would have taken it down then if she was worried about it. So yeah, let's see if there's anything else to mention about any of this before we wrap up. Melania's failed documentary. You would think that they would have paid a whole bunch of maggots to go see it and fill those theaters. It almost makes me think that the Trumpster fire wanted to humiliate her by not getting his maggots to fill the theaters and buy tickets. There were so many of the sycophants who no-showed for the preview screening at the Kennedy Center. People like Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, I think even Caroline Levitt, I think all their family, like nobody showed up for the premiere at the Kennedy Center. And again, like, That's a pretty ballsy thing to do, unless your boss told you not to show up because he was trying to stick it to his wife because she doesn't let him stick it to her, right? Um, so I think that's everything. Man, let's just talk about how overwhelmed my brain is. I can only imagine for all of you. Granny Annie, hello, my dear. How overwhelmed we all are with too much news and too much information. And that is exactly the goal. And that's not just the goal of Steve Bannon and this administration to flood the zone. That's how every gaslighter works. They try to create so much chaos that you can't see which way is up, right? Those of us who've been in relationships with narcissists know exactly. Um, Hello from San Felipe, Baja, Mexico. How are you, my dear? I do need to wrap up because I got to go to a basketball game of my daughter's. So thanks a million for being here, you guys. And sorry to have to go right when you get here, Granny Annie. So I started this video talking about Savannah Gutherie and her poor mother, Nancy Gutherie, who went missing on Sunday morning. And I just can't help but think that Savannah was hated by the Trumpster fire, and she just had nodules removed from her throat. She'd been hospitalized. Um, her last day of work on the Today Show was December 19th, and then she finally got back on her full-time schedule the Monday before her mom went missing. So she'd only been at work for a week. And she's done so many interviews with Trumpstein victims. I just can't help but think there's something to it. But I do need to wrap up. My thing just came on and said that my battery is low, which is weird because I have it plugged in, but it just got kind of loose. That was the problem. So it won't lose power, but let me sign off. Sherry and Granny and Billy and Anna, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so sorry to have to go. Yeah, I'm going to have to just make a concerted effort to try to do my lives every day, because this is driving me nuts when I skip a day and then a whole bunch of days. It's my therapy. I need it. This has been crazy making. So I'm really happy to be on. I'm really happy to see you guys. Much love, much appreciation. Drink your water, eat your protein, take good care of yourself, and I will see you very soon. Good afternoon, good evening. Thanks again. You guys are great.